the hidden seed of conquest. In the uncharted depths of the Milky Way, where stars whispered secrets only the bravest dare to uncover, a dark legend had begun to spread, a tale that most considered little more than cosmic myth. No one knew exactly where it began, but it was said that somewhere within the vast emptiness of space, a species existed that was different, resilient, ingenious, and frighteningly capable. The Zerian Empire, a civilization feared across galaxies, had long believed itself to be the pinnacle of technological and military superiority. Their biomechanical ships, vast and sleek, ruled the stars, ensuring the Empire's dominance through power and intimidation. The Zerians had conquered planets before, but their eyes had always been drawn to one in particular, a planet far below their notice. A blue world on the edge of the galaxy, deemed insignificant by most, and most importantly, defenseless. But as High Commander Vexera stood at the center of the Imperial Council's chamber on Zoron Prime, something was different. Her heart raced not with the cold assurance of her usual victories, but with the electric excitement of a discovery, one that could change everything. Esteemed members of the Council, Vexera spoke, her voice cutting through the still air like a blade. Her shimmering iridescent scales flickered as she gestured to the holographic projection that slowly expanded before them, a distant blue planet, its vast oceans and swirling clouds forming an image of serene beauty. Behold Earth. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Earth, the planet that had long been a subject of gossip and curiosity, but only as a distant afterthought. Some saw it as a primitive backwater, barely worth acknowledging. The humans had yet to develop faster-than-light technology, their broadcasts crude and full of static, nothing but faint signals drifting through space. Vexera's mandibles clicked in amusement as she watched the councillors lean in, intrigued. Earth's defenses are laughable, she continued, her tone almost mocking. Primitive weapons, poorly developed aircraft, and a handful of fragile satellites. This is a species on the brink of destruction, barely clinging to survival. She manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on Earth's surface, showing images of cities, roads, and forests. They have no energy shields, no antimatter cannons, no fleet, no presence beyond their atmosphere. It will be like harvesting fruit from a tree barely holding on to its roots. The council chamber filled with nervous laughter. Even Zakar, a strategist known for his caution, grinned in amusement. A world so weak, so ripe for plundering. But why has no one done this before? He asked, skepticism creeping into his voice. There must be something we're missing. Vexera's eyes glinted, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. That's what makes Earth the perfect target. Their vulnerability is our advantage. We can strike quickly, with no one to stop us. The other powers in the galaxy would never suspect it. By the time they even realize we've taken Earth, it will be too late. The councillors exchanged knowing glances. For all their military power, no one had ever dared attack Earth. And yet, Vexera had a plan to turn this weakness into a weapon of empire-shattering strength. But there's more, Vexera continued. Earth holds a treasure. In their crust, deep beneath the surface, we've detected rare minerals, vast deposits of element 115, a substance so crucial for our advancements in faster-than-light travel that we would control the very future of galactic movement with it. This discovery alone is worth the risk, but Earth itself could serve as a valuable resource. The room fell silent. Element 115, an element so rare that its scarcity had caused multiple skirmishes among competing powers. With that, Vexera had the Council's full attention. She smiled inwardly, knowing the decision had already been made. Globic, the Council's overseer of resources, a bulbous creature with many eyes, gurgled with interest. And the humans, what of them? If Earth is as weak as you say, can they serve any purpose? Vexera's smile widened. Their adaptability is remarkable. Our exobiologists have studied them closely. They are resilient, able to survive in the most extreme conditions. They could serve as an invaluable labor force for our more dangerous operations. Imagine a species that can endure what others cannot. The Council was hooked now. The opportunity was too great, too simple, to ignore, but one final question remained. "And what of the other galactic powers?" asked Zakar, his voice wary. "Surely, someone will intervene if we move against Earth." Vexara's eyes sparkled with the gleam of a master tactician. Earth lies in a region of space considered a neutral zone, where no major power has claimed dominion. It is far from the main trade routes, and its defenses are so primitive that it has never been a priority. By the time anyone realizes what we've done, we will have already secured the planet. We will control Earth, and no one will challenge us. A silence settled over the chamber as the full weight of her words sank in. The Zarians would be the first to make a move, the first to conquer this defenseless planet, and they would reap the rewards for centuries to come. The Imperial Overlord, a being of such advanced cybernetic enhancement that little of his original form remained, spoke at last. "High Commander Vexara, your plan is audacious, but it may indeed work. You will have the full backing of the Empire in this endeavor. Prepare your forces." Vexara bowed deeply, her heart pounding with triumph. "Thank you, Your Eminence. The Zarian flag will fly over Earth before their next solar rotation is complete." But as the council adjourned and Vexara left the chamber to prepare for what would be the greatest conquest in Zarian history, far below, on Earth, something was stirring. Hidden in a facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a force far beyond the comprehension of the Zarians was quietly preparing. Earth's defenses had been underestimated, and they were about to show the galaxy-wide Earth was the greatest secret in the universe. The hidden defenders of Earth. As Vexara's fleet began to make its final preparations for the invasion of Earth, a quiet hum of activity buzzed across the Zauran Prime warships. They were ready. The Council had given its blessing, and the resources were now in motion. It was only a matter of time before Earth would fall to their might, its valuable minerals and adaptable humans ripe for exploitation. However, while the Zarian forces prepared for their triumph, a very different kind of preparation was underway, far below the surface of the Rocky Mountains. The world above appeared unaware, but there was a hidden layer to Earth's defenses that few knew about. Deep within the United States, nestled in the heart of its most isolated and secure regions, lay a secret that no other galactic power had yet discovered. General Elena Rodriguez stood in the heart of a command center so advanced that its very existence was classified at the highest levels. Hidden beneath the thick stone and metal of a military base, this underground facility had been in operation for decades, long before humanity had even thought to look beyond its own world. It was Earth's secret weapon, a program so classified that only a handful of world leaders knew it existed. The Extraterrestrial Defense Initiative, or EDI, was the planet's last line of defense against any alien threat. Rodriguez, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a battle-hardened demeanor, stared at the holographic map floating before her. The screen displayed the Zarian fleet approaching Earth, its ships massive and sleek, their trajectory unmistakable. As the ships moved closer, the image shifted to show Earth's defenses, orbital satellites, missiles, and ground forces, all unprepared for an invasion of this scale. But Elena was not worried. She wasn't even surprised. "Initiate Protocol Omega," she commanded in a calm but firm tone. Her voice echoed in the control room, a quiet command that set everything into motion. Protocol Omega activated, came the response from a nearby officer. "All systems a go." The air in the room seemed to pulse with energy as the base hummed to life. Secret bunkers that had long been abandoned now sprang into action, systems hidden in plain sight, but long under lock and key, buried beneath decades of government secrecy. Within minutes, the hidden facilities in the mountains and deserts across the United States had come online, all running simulations and calibrating weapons that no alien race had ever seen. Elena glanced up at the projection, her face unreadable. But beneath the surface, there was a flicker of something: pride. She had watched over the EDI for years, and now the time had come. Her mind flashed back to the early days of the program, when humanity had barely grasped the reality of extraterrestrial life. But now she had the resources, the knowledge, and the resolve to make sure Earth would not fall so easily. "Activate the anti-orbital defenses," Alina ordered. "Prepare the deep space lasers. Engage all long-range sensors." For years, the humans had been studying and reverse engineering alien technology recovered from various crashed spacecraft, most notably from the Roswell incident and other unreported crashes. The technology had been incorporated into Earth's defense systems, weaponry and shields unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The world's military might have grown exponentially, and it was all hidden beneath layers of secrecy. But it wasn't just technology that had been studied. The EDI had studied the aliens as well. Years of surveillance on various galactic threats had shown one undeniable truth: no alien species had ever come close to understanding the true nature of humanity. While they boasted of their advanced technologies and superior intellects, they failed to grasp the thing that made humans unique: their will to survive. Earth had faced existential threats before, both from within and beyond. It had fought wars that had nearly torn the planet apart. It had rebuilt. It had endured. And now, humanity's ingenuity would be tested on a galactic stage. Elena watched as the massive Xerian ships began to break through Earth's atmosphere, preparing for landing. They were closing in on their target, confident in their superiority, unaware of the storm that was about to rise against them. "Target the lead ship," Elena instructed coolly. "Fire when ready." Outside, the sky was suddenly pierced by a blinding beam of energy, firing from a hidden array of satellites that no alien had ever suspected to exist. The energy beams streaked through the sky, cutting through the vastness of space with deadly precision. The Xerian lead ship, massive and sleek, exploded in a cascade of fire and debris. The Xerians, completely caught off guard, scrambled to respond, but it was too late. Earth's first strike had been launched, and it had hit the invaders hard. In mere seconds, the once impressive Xerian fleet had been sent into disarray. Vexera, on her flagship, had been watching the battle unfold through her command center's holographic interface. Her expression was one of disbelief, her eyes narrowing in shock. What is this? Impossible. She had underestimated Earth terribly. The planet she had dismissed as a weak and defenseless backwater had just delivered a blow that no one could have predicted. "Commander, their weaponry is beyond our expectations," one of her officers reported, his voice filled with panic. "Their technology, it's not from any known species. They're resisting the invasion." Vexera's jaw tightened. The Xerian Empire was not used to failure. But this was a problem, and one that could not be solved by sheer strength alone. On the ground below, Elena and her team watched the results of their first strike unfold on the holographic map. The Xerians were reeling, but she knew this was just the beginning. The battle for Earth had only just started. The Xerian Empire would learn that Earth was not as weak and defenseless as they believed. Humanity had something far more dangerous than weapons: an unyielding will to fight. "We've got their attention," Elena muttered, her voice filled with resolve. "Now, let's show them what happens when you underestimate Earth." The secret that Earth had kept hidden for so long was now out in the open. Humanity's defenders had arrived, and they were not about to let an alien empire take their world without a fight. The Xerians were about to experience something they had never encountered before, a force beyond their understanding. Earth's true defenders had finally revealed themselves, and they were not as defenseless as they had thought. With every passing moment, the stakes grew higher, and the fate of the planet hung in the balance. The hidden weapon of humanity. While the Xerians scrambled to regroup after the surprise attack, deep beneath Earth's surface, General Elena Rodriguez remained focused. The blast that had destroyed the lead ship was just the opening move in what would soon become a relentless series of devastating blows. Earth had no intention of lying down and surrendering, and the invaders were about to learn the hard way that humans had mastered something far more powerful than mere technology: strategy. Elena glanced at the holographic map before her. The Zarian fleet, though shaken, was not defeated. They were repositioning their ships, preparing to launch retaliatory strikes. But there was something they didn't understand. The Zarians were used to overwhelming force. They were accustomed to bullying weaker civilizations into submission. But Earth wasn't like the others. Humanity had learned from its past mistakes, and more importantly, it had learned how to adapt quickly in the face of adversity. "Prepare the EMP disruptors," Elena ordered, her voice steady. "I want every Zarian ship to be disabled within the next 5 minutes. Make sure they can't retaliate." The room buzzed with activity as officers and technicians scrambled to execute her orders. Deep beneath the mountains, the Earth's most advanced weaponry systems were coming to life, silent, unseen, but deadly. They weren't the weapons of traditional warfare. No, humanity's strength lay in ingenuity, and it was about to become their most lethal tool. Up above, Vexera's mind raced as her fleet tried to regain control. The Zarian ships, though technologically superior, had one glaring weakness: they were not built for adaptability. Their systems, complex and rigid, were not designed to respond to the kind of guerrilla tactics humanity had just unleashed. They relied on brute force, but force alone was no longer enough to win the war. "We cannot allow them to disable our ships," Vexera growled, slamming her fist onto the console in frustration. Her command center hummed with urgent reports from her officers. "Commander, the humans have activated their EMP systems. Their satellites are emitting powerful bursts. Our communications are down, and several ships are experiencing critical power loss." Vexera's mandibles clicked in fury. "Activate the shielding, full power, now." But it was too late. The EMP disruptors that Elena had activated were unlike anything the Zarians had encountered. The waves sent ripples through their advanced systems, scrambling their power grids, disabling their weapons, and leaving them vulnerable to Earth's next strike. On the ground, the scene was unfolding in real time. The skies were filled with Zarian ships, their once perfect formations now a chaotic mess as they struggled to stay in orbit. With every passing second, they were losing their advantage. And for the first time in the invasion, the Zarians were realizing just how dangerous Earth could be. Back in the command center, Elena allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. It was not a victory, yet, but it was a decisive moment. "Deploy the defense drones," she instructed. "Activate all ground-based interceptors and prepare for a full-scale assault. The Zarians think this will be easy. Let's show them how wrong they are." A series of deep, rumbling noises echoed through the facility as the massive underground hangars opened, releasing Earth's next line of defense. The Zarian fleet had underestimated Earth's technological capabilities, thinking that humanity's greatest strength was its physical resilience. They were wrong. The defense drones, sleek and fast, shot into the air, blending seamlessly with the existing air defense satellites already in orbit. These drones were not only armed with high-powered lasers and EMP pulses, but they were also equipped with adaptive AI systems capable of learning and evolving in real time. The drones were not just tools of war, they were an extension of humanity's greatest weapon, its ingenuity. As they took to the skies, Earth's cities below remained calm, oblivious to the battle raging overhead. People went about their daily lives, unaware that their world was under siege by an alien force. This, too, was part of the plan. Humanity's greatest weapon was not only its technology, but its ability to remain focused on the task at hand, even when faced with impossible odds. Meanwhile, aboard the Zarian flagship, the tension was palpable. Vexera stood at the center of her command, fists clenched in frustration. She had never expected resistance like this. Her fleet was faltering, their advanced technologies useless in the face of Earth's unexpected counterattacks. "Status report," Vexera demanded. "All ships are reporting critical systems failure," High Commander, an officer replied. "Our shields are failing. Energy reserves are depleted. It seems their drones are adapting to our tactics faster than we can counter them." Vexera's eyes burned with fury. "I will not be defeated by a primitive species," she shouted. "Launch the ground assault immediately. We will crush them underfoot." But even as she spoke, her words seemed hollow. The Zerians had made one critical error. They had underestimated Earth's capacity to think outside the box. In space, they might have the advantage, but on the ground, Earth had a different kind of strength, one that no alien fleet had ever encountered before. On Earth's surface, Alina watched the chaos unfold. The Zerians had been forced to deploy their ground troops, massive dropships descending onto key cities around the globe. But Alina had anticipated this move. Every city was already fortified, with layers of defense that the Zerians could not hope to breach. As their dropships hit the atmosphere, they were intercepted by a network of high-powered lasers that shot them down before they could deploy their forces. The streets below filled with smoke and fire as buildings crumbled under the weight of the Zerian assault. But the humans weren't running. They weren't hiding. They were fighting back. "Deploy the countermeasures," Alina ordered. "Activate the pulse disruptors in the cities." With a simple command, another wave of humanity's secret weapons was unleashed. These pulse disruptors were electromagnetic devices capable of disabling the advanced technology of any alien invader within a 5-mile radius. The Zerians had thought their ships were untouchable, but they were now learning that Earth had weapons they had never even considered. The war was no longer a one-sided conflict. Humanity had turned the tables, and the invaders were now fighting a battle they were unprepared for. Vexera watched in growing disbelief as her fleet continued to falter. The human defenses were relentless, their weapons more advanced than her most trusted strategists had anticipated. But there was one thing she had yet to consider, something the Zerians had missed completely. They had never truly understood Earth's greatest weapon, its unity. As the Zerians struggled to maintain their ground, Earth's defenders fought as one, from the military to the civilian volunteers who had rallied to the cause. The Zerian Empire had failed to account for the indomitable spirit of humanity, a spirit that would never give up, no matter the odds. The battle for Earth was far from over, but one thing was clear. The Zerians had just awakened a sleeping giant, the unseen edge of humanity. The battle was intensifying across the globe. Earth's defenses, once hidden beneath layers of secrecy, had revealed themselves in full force. The Zerian invaders had underestimated the planet's ability to fight back, but the real lesson was yet to come. As their fleet continued to falter, the Zerians realized that the true strength of Earth lay not in its advanced weaponry, but in its resilience and its people. High above the planet, Vexera watched in disbelief as her forces scrambled to regain control. The battle, once thought to be a sure victory, was quickly spiraling into chaos. Her fleet had sustained crippling damage from the EMP blasts and drone strikes, and now the ground assault was being repelled by Earth's devastating pulse disruptors. The Zerians were unaccustomed to this kind of resistance. Humans were supposed to be weak, divided, and easy to conquer. But they were learning too late that Earth had a far more dangerous weapon, unity. Vexera stood in her command center, fuming. She had faced countless enemies in her time as a commander, but never one like this. "I underestimated them," she muttered, her mandibles twitching with frustration. "These humans, they adapt too quickly." The Zerians had thought they could simply invade Earth, take its resources, and leave. But what they hadn't anticipated was the power of human ingenuity, a force that couldn't be calculated, measured, or anticipated. The same ingenuity that had built Earth's cities, explored the deepest oceans, and sent mankind to the stars was now turning the tide of battle against them. But even with all their technological might, the the Zarians had yet to realize that it wasn't just the humans' weapons or tactics that were making the difference. It was something deeper, something far more profound. On the ground, General Elena Rodriguez and her team monitored the battle from their underground command center. The war had shifted from a fight for survival to a battle for dominance. Earth was no longer simply defending its home, it was pushing back. The Zarians, caught off guard by the efficiency and coordination of the defense efforts, were beginning to fall into disarray. The pulse disruptors, which had disabled much of the Zarian fleet's advanced technology, were just the beginning. Humanity's defenses were evolving in real time, adapting to the changing tactics of the enemy. The Zarians were slow to respond, still reeling from the previous blows. And in that moment of weakness, Elena saw her opportunity. "Activate the global communications system," she ordered, her voice sharp. "We need to broadcast this message to every corner of the world." Moments later, an encrypted transmission was sent out, reaching every military base, every hidden defense system, and every civilian willing to stand against the invaders. The message was simple, but powerful. "This is Earth. We are not alone in this fight. Stand united, and we will prevail." The message was broadcasted not just to the military, but to every citizen who had access to Earth's global communication network. It was a call to arms, not just to those with weapons, but to the everyday people who would fight to protect their families, their homes, and their way of life. Elena's words had struck a chord. All over the planet, humanity's response was immediate. In cities, villages, and remote towns, people were rising to the occasion. Makeshift militias formed, civilians armed themselves with whatever they could find, and governments mobilized to coordinate efforts. The world, despite its differences and conflicts, was united under one banner: survival. In orbit, the Zarian fleet was losing momentum. They had been caught off guard, but now they were realizing that the humans' true strength wasn't in their weapons. The invaders had expected to find a fractured, divided world, one that could be easily manipulated and overrun. What they didn't count on was Earth's ability to turn its people into an unstoppable force. Vexera's eyes narrowed as she watched the broadcasts coming from Earth. She couldn't believe it. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was organizing. The Zarians had always prided themselves on their superiority, on their ability to command and control vast empires with an iron fist. But Earth was showing them something different, a chaotic, unpredictable force that defied all logic and calculation. "High Commander," one of her officers said, pulling her from her thoughts. "We're receiving a transmission from their leaders. It's a call for peace negotiations." Vexera raised an eyebrow. "Negotiate? With them?" Her voice was laced with disbelief. "Are they trying to surrender?" The officer hesitated. "No, High Commander. They're asking us to cease hostilities, to return to the negotiating table." Vexera's mandibles clicked in frustration. She had no intention of negotiating. These humans are clever, but they will learn soon enough that there is no negotiating with the Zarian Empire. Back on Earth, Elena had been prepared for this moment. She knew the Zarians would not back down easily. Negotiations were part of their strategy, an attempt to buy time, regroup, and strike again with overwhelming force. But Elena wasn't interested in diplomacy. She had seen enough to know that the Zarians had no respect for peace. "We're not negotiating," Elena said firmly, staring at the incoming transmission. "We're finishing this." Her team nodded in agreement. Earth had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let the invaders off the hook now. The message sent by the Zarians, despite its seeming offer of peace, was nothing more than a ploy to buy time for their forces to regroup. Elena wasn't falling for it. "Activate the final phase of the counterattack," she ordered. "Prepare the planetary defense systems for a full orbital bombardment." The time had come for the Zarians to understand the true nature of Earth's power. It wasn't just about military might or advanced technology. It was the willingness to fight for every inch of ground, every breath of air. The Zarians had underestimated humanity's resolve, but that was about to change. As Elena gave the order, the ground trembled beneath her feet. Across the world, orbital defense cannons were primed, ready to strike. Humanity's final weapon was not just technological, but psychological. The Zarians had underestimated Earth because they didn't understand humanity's capacity for determination, its unbreakable will to survive. As the Zarian fleet regrouped, unaware of the devastating force that was about to be unleashed, they received an unexpected signal, Earth's last message before the final strike. We are humanity, and we will never surrender. The battle for Earth had reached its climax. The Zarians had made their mistake. They had underestimated the human spirit, and in doing so, they had sealed their fate. In that moment, Earth's defenses unleashed their final fury: orbital bombardments, missile strikes, and a wave of coordinated attacks from every corner of the planet. The Zarians had no choice but to face the full force of humanity's wrath. And as the first wave of Earth's final offensive struck their fleet, the Zarians realized too late that Earth was not just a defenseless world, it was a force unlike any they had ever encountered. As the dust settled, Vexora's flagship remained in orbit, battered but still standing. Her face was grim as she looked out at the destruction. The Zarian Empire had made a critical mistake. They had failed to understand Earth's true strength. The invaders had come expecting an easy conquest, but they had awakened a sleeping giant, one that was now fully awake and fully prepared to defend its home. The war was far from over, but Earth had made its point, and the Zarians, for the first time in their history, were on the defensive, the heart of resistance. The war had turned the corner. No longer was Earth the underdog in this conflict. It had become the unexpected force that the Zarians couldn't ignore. But even as the Zarians scrambled to regroup, they knew that humanity's resistance wasn't just about technology or military might. It was about something far deeper, something that no fleet, no weapon could ever truly account for. High Commander Vexora stood in her flagship's command center, her expression hard and unwavering. The battle for Earth had cost the Zarians dearly. Ships had been destroyed, commanders lost, and their momentum shattered. They were now stuck in a cycle of retreat and counterattack, with no clear path forward. Her own forces were worn thin, and the planetary defenses, though weakened, had proven to be more resilient than she could have ever imagined. Vexora's mind churned with frustration. The humans had outplayed them. Their adaptability, their unpredictable strategies, and their refusal to yield had made them an enemy like no other. The Zarians had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had found themselves ensnared in a battle they hadn't anticipated, one that had revealed the true strength of Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Elena Rodriguez stood in the heart of the underground command center, her face illuminated by the flickering holographic displays. The battle was far from over, but humanity had gained the upper hand. The invaders had been dealt significant losses, and their morale was beginning to crumble. But Elena knew the Zarians wouldn't give up so easily. They had advanced technology, and they had the will to fight. Yet, what Earth had, what no alien empire had anticipated, was an unbreakable bond, a unity forged from the fires of adversity. The people of Earth had proven their worth not just through weapons, but through their resilience, their creativity, and their unwavering spirit. "We have them on the ropes," Elena said, her voice steady but tinged with the weight of responsibility. "But we can't let our guard down. The Zarians will come back stronger. They'll regroup, strategize, and hit us harder than ever before." Her team nodded in agreement, but there was a sense of quiet confidence in the air. The world had rallied, and humanity was no longer a fractured species caught in the petty struggles of politics and war. They had united under one cause: to protect their home, to fight for Earth. "We have to take this fight to them," Elena continued. "It's time to hit back. Prepare all available resources for a full-scale counteroffensive. We'll show them that Earth is more than just a planet. It's a force to be reckoned with." The room buzzed with activity as Earth's forces, both military and civilian, prepared for the next phase of the war. The world's defense systems, now fully activated, began to synchronize. The EMP networks, pulse disruptors, and orbital cannons were all being ready for the largest coordinated assault the galaxy had ever seen. Earth's finest minds had been working tirelessly to design a weapon that could not only defeat the Zarians, but completely cripple their ability to wage war. But this wasn't just about technology. This was about human ingenuity, something the Zarians had vastly underestimated. The weapon humanity had developed wasn't just a piece of hardware. It was the product of a united effort across the globe, born from the minds of scientists, engineers, and everyday people who had all contributed in their own way. As Earth's forces began their preparations, the Zarians, still reeling from the previous losses, scrambled to mount a counteroffensive of their own. Vexorus' flagship hung at the center of their fleet like a vengeful specter. She had no intention of letting this defeat stand. The Zarians were a proud and powerful race, and the humans, no matter how resilient, could not be allowed to win. "We have underestimated them," Vexorus said coldly, her voice carrying the weight of her authority. "But that ends now. Mobilize all remaining forces. We will crush them before they can regroup." Her officers worked in frantic coordination, launching their final push to regain control of the battlefield. But even as they prepared for what they hoped would be a decisive strike, they could not shake the feeling that Earth had more to offer than they had anticipated. What the Zarians didn't know was that Alina had anticipated this very moment. She had known that the Zarians would regroup, gather their strength, and launch a full-scale offensive. But she had also known that this would be humanity's final test. It was time for the humans to show the Zarians the true meaning of resistance. The Zarian fleet surged forward, intent on reclaiming their momentum. Their warships, sleek and deadly, cut through the void like sharks circling prey. Vexorus' command ship was at the front, the beacon of their renewed assault. She was determined to break the human spirit once and for all. But the humans were ready. As the Zarians made their approach, Earth's forces sprang into action. The first wave of attack came from the orbital cannons, which fired in unison, sending blasts of concentrated energy toward the heart of the Zarian fleet. The energy pulses ripped through the void, striking the Zarian ships with devastating force. Explosions rocked their fleet, sending debris spiraling into the blackness of space. The Zarians retaliated, but their strikes were inefficient, disrupted by Earth's pulse disruptors, which rendered their advanced technology useless. Zarian ships, once nimble and fast, now struggled to maintain control, their weapon systems malfunctioning, their shields flickering in and out. On Earth, the people were witnessing the tide of battle change in real time. The world's global communication network broadcasted the chaos above them, showing the Zarian fleet breaking apart as humanity's might overwhelmed them. The message was clear. Earth was not going down without a fight. Humanity wasn't just defending, it was counterattacking with everything it had. Alina watched the unfolding events on the holographic display, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that the Zarians were formidable, but they hadn't counted on the depth of human resolve. The Earth's forces, from every nation, every corner of the world, had come together with one singular purpose: to protect their home. "Target their flagship," Alina ordered. "We end this now." The world held its breath as the orbital cannons, laser-guided missiles, and pulse disruptors locked in on Vexorus' flagship. In an instant, the final wave of attacks descended upon the Zarian command ship. The flagship, the symbol of their might, was struck by an explosion so powerful that it sent shockwaves through the entire fleet. Vexorus' eyes widened as she watched her ship begin to break apart. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. In that moment, Earth's final offensive had shattered the Zarian invasion. What the invaders had failed to comprehend was that Earth's strength lay not in its weapons, but in the indomitable will of its people. It wasn't just technology or tactics that made Earth dangerous. It was humanity's refusal to give up. In the face of overwhelming odds, they had united, adapted, and fought back, and they had emerged victorious. Vexera stood at the command center of her damaged flagship, the realization hitting her like a cold wave. The Zarians had underestimated Earth in the most crucial way. Humanity wasn't just a defenseless species, it was a species capable of rising above every challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed. And now the Zarians would learn that the hard way. The reckoning of the Zarians. The void of space, once a silent and tranquil expanse, now hummed with the echoes of a battle that had never been foreseen. The Zarian fleet, once so confident in its superior technology and military might, now found itself on the precipice of defeat. Their flagship was shattered, and the remnants of their once dominant armada scattered like fallen leaves in a storm. The humans, a species once underestimated and dismissed as primitive, had turned the tide of the war, and the Zarians were struggling to understand why. High Commander Vexera stood in the wreckage of her command ship, her iridescent scales dim under the glow of emergency lights. Her mind was a battlefield of its own, swirling with confusion, anger, and disbelief. The humans had done the impossible. They had not only survived, but they had struck back with such precision that even the Zarians' most advanced strategies had been rendered useless. They were ready for us, Vexera muttered to herself. Every move we made, they anticipated it. Her officers, those who were still alive, gathered around her in silence. Their faces were grim, their usually unflinching resolve shaken. The Zarians had lost more than just ships and resources. They had lost their invincibility. And that, to Vexera, was the true defeat. High Commander, one of her officers, a veteran named Zartak, spoke with a voice tinged with fear. The fleet is in disarray. The humans, they've crippled our systems. We have no way of rallying our forces for another attack. It's as if they knew exactly how to counter us. Vexera's mandibles clicked in irritation. Do you think we are beaten, Zartak? She growled. Are we to flee with our tails between our legs? Or are we Zarians, masters of the stars? We do not run from defeat. We make it our strength. There was a murmur among the remaining crew. The Zarians were not a race to be cowed easily, and their pride was as much a weapon as their fleets. But the reality of their situation was undeniable. The humans had fought back in ways that the Zarians had never seen before. They had adapted quickly, with an almost eerie intuition, as if they had been preparing for this moment long before the Zarians had even set their sights on Earth. On Earth, General Elena Rodriguez stood before the massive holographic display in the underground command center, watching as the last remnants of the Zarian fleet struggled to regroup. The battle was nearly won, but she knew better than to think that the war was over. The Zarians would not be so easily dissuaded. Status report, Elena ordered, her voice firm, though she couldn't hide the faintest hint of exhaustion. We've dealt with their advanced ships and crippled their command infrastructure, one of the analysts replied. But we've detected several remaining Zarian ships trying to escape the system. They're retreating to a nearby asteroid field, but they're still in fighting condition. We can't let them regroup. Elena nodded, her brow furrowing as she considered the options. They had made incredible progress, but this wasn't just about stopping the Zarians. It was about ensuring that they could never threaten Earth again. Prepare a strike force, Elena said. We're going after them. The room was silent for a moment as the full weight of her words settled in. The Zarians were not just a threat to Earth, they were a threat to the entire galaxy. Earth had proven it could stand its ground, but now it was time to deliver the final blow and make it clear that humanity would not be a species to fear, but one to respect. Meanwhile, Vexera's mind raced as she tried to grasp at the remnants of her failing empire. The Zarians had encountered their first true failure in generations, and it had come from the hands of a species they had once deemed beneath them. The Zarians had assumed that their overwhelming firepower and technological superiority would ensure a swift victory. But what they hadn't accounted for was the one thing that could never be calculated, the sheer unpredictability of human nature. It wasn't just the technology that the humans had used to their advantage. It was their willpower, their ingenuity, and their refusal to accept defeat. The humans had made it clear that they would fight, and they would fight with everything they had. Vextera paced across the wreckage of her ship, her thoughts sharpening. There was no escaping the fact that the Zarians had underestimated Earth in the most critical way. The humans were not a primitive species. They were a species that had the potential to not only survive, but to thrive in the face of impossible odds. "High Commander," Zartak interjected once more, his voice urgent, "we must make a decision. The humans are preparing for another assault, and we cannot continue this fight. Our fleet is in no condition to face them." Vextera paused, her mind a swirling storm of conflicting thoughts. She had never known defeat. The Zarians had ruled the galaxy for centuries, and they had crushed countless civilizations in their rise to power. Earth was supposed to be just another conquest. But now, that idea seemed absurd. Earth wasn't just a planet, it was a symbol. A symbol of the resilience that the universe had underestimated. "We'll fight," Vextera finally declared, her voice ringing with cold resolve. "But we'll do so on our terms. We'll find the humans' weakness, their flaw. There must be something we can exploit. We will break them before they break us." Back on Earth, Elena's team was readying their forces for the final push. The Zarians may have regrouped in an asteroid field, but Earth was more prepared than ever. What had once been a planet on the brink of being overtaken was now a force that demanded respect, and the humans were ready to show the Zarians exactly what they had underestimated. The final battle was about to begin. The skies above Earth had become the stage for a conflict that would define the future of the galaxy. Would the Zarians be able to recover from the humiliation they had suffered? Or would humanity's unyielding spirit shatter the foundations of their empire once and for all? Elena stared out into the stars, the weight of history pressing down on her. There was no turning back. But Earth had something the Zarians didn't, something they could never understand. The fight for Earth was not just a war, it was a declaration that humanity would no longer be the victim of the galaxy. Earth was no longer a defenseless world. It was a world that had proven its strength, and it was ready to take its place among the stars. As Elena's forces prepared for the final assault, the Zarians, broken and battered, gathered their last forces. The stage was set for one final confrontation, one that would decide the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. Vextera's eyes glinted with determination. The time for hesitation was over. But this time, the odds were stacked against her, and deep down, she knew the Zarians were fighting not just to conquer Earth, but to regain their honor. In the end, it wasn't just about winning. It was about something far greater. It was about survival.